Hi, I'm Mark Bunker, coming to you from sparkling Clearwater, Florida. Just recently, the city of Clearwater spent $125,000 to have the Urban Land Institute give them advice on how to best redevelop their downtown. Well, they gave a presentation that ran almost 2 hours long, and I want to show you just a few minutes of the presentation. It was the first and the most important point they had to make to the city.
But before I get to that vision, I want to take a step back and talk about the problem we believe we're trying to solve. Because without understanding the problem, can't really understand the solutions. The first is a classic, a timeless classic of the urban profession, and that is the challenge of a city with a tourism-based economy. But Clearwater has a unique secondary problem, which really exacerbates the first, and that is the fact that it is entirely apparent that you are a very divided community. You are divided not just between the beach and the mainland, although that geographic distinction is very real and meaningful. You're also divided internally, and that division hits all the hot-button issues of our day: race and class, ethnicity, language, and religion. And this is a big problem. It's a big challenge, because if there's one immutable law of urban economic development, something you can rely on no matter where you are, it's that balkanization leads to decline. When communities cannot work together on shared progress, they don't make progress. And here's the secret. You ready? Everyone wants the same thing. Everyone wants the same thing. Everyone wants a vital and active downtown. Everybody wants life on the street. Everyone wants a variety of shopping opportunities. Everyone wants great housing. Everyone wants more jobs. Everyone wants more opportunity. You all want the same thing. But the flip side of that is that everyone feels frustrated. Everyone feels stymied, blocked, ignored, underappreciated. Everyone feels like they have something to contribute and they're being prevented from doing it. Everyone feels that way, and that fact is, in a sense, the single biggest impediment to having Clearwater be the city that everyone wants it to be. But where do you start? Where do you start when no one trusts one another? Where do you begin? There's only one place you can begin. You have to begin at the top. It has to start with the entities that are the largest organizations in the downtown core. They have the largest budgets in the downtown core. They have the largest number of employees in the downtown core. They have the largest influence over the downtown core. That's where you have to start. And as a person, as a human being, I am profoundly sensitive and sympathetic to the fact that there's a long history of very hurt feelings, of insults, real or imagined, of conflicts, real or imagined. Those pains are very real, and they are very palpable as an outsider. But speaking as a member of the Urban Land Institute, a 30,000-member international organization dedicated to making cities better, I have to tell you that is not relevant to the task at hand. The work itself needs you to get past that somehow. And not to put too fine a point on it, but if you think about it, if there's any person who should be able to understand that pain over past hurt holds you back from making progress in the future, it should be a Scientologist. If these two entities, with all of their influence and sway, cannot work together, they cannot reasonably expect anyone else in the community to do so. Partnership starts at the top. You know, my wife and I, we have 3 kids. And if there's one thing I know from family road trips, when mom and dad are fighting, no one can get along. It's got to start at the top. Now let's talk for a second about the Church of Scientology and the flag service organization. We spent a lot of time and effort over the past week trying as hard as we can to understand this unique and complex organization. We read the literature, we took the tour, we've spoken to everyone from parishioners to senior leadership to the nice lady that works at the front desk. And our honest, genuine, sincere appraisal is that by and large the church seems to behave just like almost any other large urban institutional landowner. They are focused principally on their programmatic needs, which makes them no different from most hospitals or universities that are focused first and foremost on their own programmatic needs. But we see no evidence that the church is in any way different from the rest of the community in wanting a thriving, active, vibrant downtown. In fact, from my perspective, I see them as the principal beneficiary of such a thing. You know, right now, they send busloads of visitors to Tampa to go shopping. They send busloads of visitors to Tampa to go shopping because there aren't enough opportunities for them in the downtown core. From my perspective, they would be a great beneficiary of an active, well-developed, thriving downtown core. And if you look at their actions, they have done actually some really important things to contribute to that. And let's leave aside the fact that they put $250 million into downtown. And let's leave aside the fact they bring 2,300 jobs to downtown. And let's leave aside the fact they pay $1 million in taxes. And let's leave aside the fact that their flagship buildings are in impeccable condition and that they do charity work. Let's focus on something very concrete. The church brought Starbucks to downtown. It seems so mundane, right? I asked people about this in our focus groups, and people were like, well, no, duh, who doesn't like a Starbucks? Who gets credit for Starbucks? Everyone likes Starbucks. Everyone likes Starbucks. And that makes it the template for future partnership and cooperation. Not based on some Pollyanna, let's all hold hands, we'll be best friends, we'll have a sleepover party, we'll make Rice Krispie treats, talk about boys. You know, not that. But real partnership, which is founded upon genuine mutual shared interest. Starbucks helps the church, its staff, its visitors. Starbucks helps the town, its residents, its visitors. Both sides benefit. So as we go through the next, again, this avalanche of ideas and opportunities, we really see so much potential here. What I want you to keep focused in your mind as you're looking at them all is, which is the next Starbucks? Where is that Starbucks? It could be small, like a Starbucks. It could be big, but where is it? Because if you find that, you're on the path to winning. All right, thank you.
Well, it's good to know that Brad Rogers thoroughly immersed himself in the subject of Scientology by reading all the materials that they gave him, taking a tour of the Scientology buildings, and speaking to a bunch of Scientologists. Well, that's a thorough overview right there. If he had dug a little bit deeper, he might have found a copy of Project Normandy, the covert operation Scientology put in place to completely take over Clearwater. But hey, listen, we got to forget the past, real or imagined. We got to move forward and work with Scientology because we have a shared goal. Well, I hope not. I mean, everyone would like to see a thriving, bustling downtown, the city and Scientology and me. I'd like to see businesses down there. But Scientology's goal is different from the city's. They laid it out again in 1999 in one of their magazines when they said one of their top goals for the year 2000 was to make Clearwater the first Scientology city. So I hope that's not Clearwater's goal. Kind of hard to tell, though, sometimes. Because the city really does want to patch things up and work together with Scientology. I mean, the mayor has gone out of his way. At the end of this meeting, he got up and walked over to Ben Shaw to shake his hand because he'd never met Ben Shaw before. I've met Ben Shaw.
Why were you videotaping the delivery of our furniture today, Ben?
I've never shook his hand. When I lived here back in 2000 and 2001, the city had a plan to turn over the entire downtown area and all the waterfront property to an out-of-town developer who was going to lease the entire area for $1 a year for 99 years. This was how desperate the city was at that point to get something happening downtown. Now the folks here living in Clearwater had to vote on that referendum, and they roundly defeated it. But prior to the vote, the St. Pete Times ran an article. They did a survey of people, and it showed that something like 66% of the people felt that redeveloping downtown would only benefit Scientology. And basically 100% of the people surveyed said that even if the downtown was fully redeveloped, they still wouldn't go down there. The reason is Scientology. It's kind of creepy being downtown. Now this is a big problem because the storefronts are completely empty. The only folks walking around are Scientologists. One of the suggestions of the Urban Land Institute was to put something in those empty storefronts. And Scientology has done that. In the windows of the Coachman building, they have completely turned those windows into a tribute to the history of Clearwater and Scientology's role in the city, at least as far as Scientology sees it.
It's safe to talk, it's safe to look.
Now, when the Lisa McPherson Trust came to town back in 2000, at that point, the city manager, Mike Roberto, had been actively trying to mend fences with Scientology after years and years and years of the city investigating them. He wanted to form a bond the way he did when he worked in Miami. He told Stacy Brooks and Bob Minton, hey, listen, we had to make peace with the mafia down in Miami. We can make peace with Scientology. From a politician's standpoint, maybe he has a point. I mean, there certainly is no benefit to a politician going after Scientology. They have a huge voting bloc they can use against that person to get him out of office. And they have unlimited funds to use to investigate a politician and smear him and ruin his career, as they tried to do with former Mayor Gabe Casares. But it is amazing. When the LMT was here back in 2000, 2001, the city kind of kept their distance from Scientology. Roberto had said he had been working hard to get Scientology off the front pages of the newspaper, and then we came to town and suddenly there they were back in the news again. So there was a distance for a couple of years, but as soon as the LMT left town, the Republicans started having fundraisers in the Fort Harrison Hotel. I mean, it's gotten to the point now where just before this Urban Land Institute meeting, there was a huge fundraiser with millionaire Scientologists co-hosted by Joni Siegel and her husband, who are seen here in this video from the year 2001. So Scientology doesn't really need covert operations anymore. They've got a ton of money and a lot of politicians who are happy to accept it. Incidentally, Joni Siegel was the personal communicator for one of the people who went to prison for covert operations that Scientology was running at that period. Henning Helt was his name, and Joni, as his communicator, was essentially his personal assistant. Now, Joni herself wasn't accused of any crimes, but this is Hubbard's policy put into effect. You got these people cozying up to politicians, like here's Joni with a city commissioner back in 2001. Personally, I think a better tactic for Clearwater would be not to work with Scientology, but to work with Marty Rathbun, who sat in on all the meetings between the IRS commissioner and David Miscavige, and Marty no longer believes Scientology deserves that tax-exempt status, and he could help them plot a roadmap to getting that revoked. But hey, that's just me, and I'm not a politician. Yet. Until then, I'm Mark Bunker. Thank you.